Hey everyone! We're so happy you're here. It's Sunday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, live with Tom and Tammy. Sorry we're a minute or so late. We're trying to get all of the questions collected so that we could talk to everyone. If you're new, if this is the first time you've been here, I'm Tammy.
And I'm Tom.
And we are the creators of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook. And we're whole food, plant-based, oil-free, and we share our lifestyle, lots of different aspects.
We share our lifestyle together.
Well, we share our lifestyle with
I hope we
everyone.
share our lifestyle together.
41 years and counting. So anyway, we're really happy to have everyone here. I hope you had a great week. It was a very busy week around here. And here it is Sunday already. So a little bit of business.
A little bit of business. I see we have our moderators with us. That would be Jesse, Randy, and Tiffany. And so when I'm scrolling up and down looking for questions for Tammy, then you ladies would can take care of my silly trolls for me. That would be great, so I don't have to watch the bottom of the feed. And
There could be questions for you as well.
yeah, no, I know.
Just getting some hot tea. I had to grab a sweater. I got so cold. I ate a chopped salad for lunch, and it always makes me cold, so I had to grab a sweater.
We're having
and
a
have some
blustery day today.
The sun has come out, but the wind is really blowing now.
And as you saw in the chat feed, I'm asking for 4 question marks before and after. You don't need my paper towel. Before and after a question so that it jumps out at us. We do have a number of questions that came in through email and Facebook. And so Tammy's going to work through those. And then when we're done with that, then we will jump back on the chat feed and catch up with you guys and scroll through and pick up your questions. So let me just check here. I think I hear the sound working just fine down here. Nobody's saying anything.
Nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
And so please,
it's loud, yeah.
If you could hit the like button for us, that really helps our ratings on.
Well, you've got 8 likes already.
All right, thank you. I like that.
You're very likable. She's very.
Well, you seem to think I am.
She's very likable. Yep. Let's like her. Okay.
And you can share this in real time on Facebook too. And so if you would click on the share and share it in any groups that you're in on Facebook and help us reach more people, that would be really fun too. So the bigger we can make this community, the better for all of us. So let's get started. So Julie sent me a private Facebook message to let me know about the Oat Groats that she was able to purchase online, because we were talking about Oat Groats last week and where you can get them, because it's hard to find them right now because of the pandemic, and we're not able to find them locally. So we do have a resource on our Amazon affiliate page, and if you look in the show notes, the See More, Tom has all kinds of links in there of lots of different things that we're going to be talking about today.
It seems kind of random, but they pertain to answers that she's got in the notes. And so
if you looked at that before things started, you'd be like, wow, none of this is related. But it is, because we're going to talk about it. But anyway, Julie shared that she found organic oat groats from a company called Doubting Thomas Farms. So that's Doubting Thomas. Isn't that cute? Doubting Thomas Farms in Moorhead, Minnesota. And so I looked at their website, and it looked nice, and it's organic products. And of course, the larger bag of them that you buy, the more you save. And I think she said she got the 25-pound bag, and it ended up being like $1.49 a pound, which is really inexpensive, because I think we paid $2.49 a pound for the $2.49 or $2.79. Do I not have sound?
You muted yourself.
How did I do that?
No. Keep talking.
How did I do that? That's crazy. Okay. Well, have they heard anything I've said?
Yeah, it's coming through my mic.
They heard something that I said?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for tipping me off.
Okay, where do I need to start repeating? Where do I need to go back to? Or do you know?
you're getting past doubting Thomas.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat myself just in case I was muted and you didn't hear me. That Julie shared. I can hear myself on that.
All right.
Julie shared that she got the oat groats from Doubting Thomas Farms from Moorhead, Minnesota. So if you need to get oat groats, check that out. Someone else asked, what do you actually do with the oat groats? And I forgot to write down the person's name. And I use them in place of brown rice. So I like them savory. We have a video and a blog post all about oat groats. So check that out. If you just Google Oat Groats Nutmeg Notebook, then the video and the blog post should come up for you. And I just use them like I would brown rice. So I'll have them in my taco salad. I'll have them, with salsa on top of them. I'll put them in the bottom of the bowl and put soup over the top of them. And I'll have them as a side dish with a veggie burger, and that's how I love them. And I know other people like them in a sweet way, and you can do that too, of course. You can have them with fruit if you want, but I just use them in a savory way. And I know some people are using them in their soups when they cook their soups, but they're just adding them like towards the end. But I don't like them to get really soft and mushy, and so I just put them in the bottom of my bowl after I cook them. I cook them in the pressure cooker, and then just add my soup on top, and that works really great. So if you have the curry ginger butternut squash soup, I've been having that over oat groats, and that is delicious. Okay, so any questions about that? You're watching the feed.
Good. Yeah,
okay.
Just a lot of people are getting oat groats, and several from Amazon.
Yes,
and from the Doubting Thomas Farms. So
yeah, nice. And so we have a link to for the organic ones that we just bought from Amazon. And normally we get them from Whole Foods, but our Whole Foods doesn't have them for bulk right now because they're not that popular, she told us. So Linda Munson asked for the Amazon link for the deep basket for the Milty crisp lid, and that is this. And so Tom posted that, and that should also be on our Amazon affiliate page.
yeah, or if you go to the Milty in the show notes, there's the Milty link also, and you can go directly to this site. I don't know if shipping for a single thing like this would be an issue. So
do you want to check and see who has the better deal?
Yeah.
Amazon or Milty. And so what this is this is for the crisp lid, the Milty crisp lid that turns your any kind of electric pressure cooker into a little air fryer. And when they originally came out, the baskets were a lot more shallow. This is about twice as deep, and this one, so it'll hold more. And so she's just looking for the basket for that. We have a video all about the Milty crisp lid and a blog post, so check that out. If you don't have an air fryer and you have limited space, or you want to take one in your RV with you or when you travel, this is a really great option.
one thing I learned on finding videos, or actually I knew it before, but I forgot, and then I remembered it. Is that a thing? Can you remember things?
Well, at our age, honey, we do.
I went on our site and in from like the viewer side, and it just shows a little strip of videos across the top, like 6 videos. And I went, I know I have a lot more videos on there for Tammy than that. And so then you go up and you click on the videos thing, and then all 140 of them or so show up in this great big
wow, is
library.
that how many we have now?
Yeah, more or less.
Wow.
So yeah,
busy.
You don't have to keep scrolling the arrow. You can just click on videos, and it lists the whole library, and then you can find, hopefully the thumbnails are good enough that you can find the one that's about the air fryer. Or you can just do the search bar as well. The search works really well.
Yeah. So another Julie asked, she says, when I use rolled oats to make oat flour, or when I use rolled oats in a recipe, does it matter if I use quick cooking instead? I've had a hard time finding rolled oats in the quarantine period. I have Bob's Red Mill extra thick rolled oats and Bob's Red Mill quick cooking oats. Which is the best to use? in place of the rolled oats. So if it's for making the flour, you could use either, because they are taking probably the oat groats and grinding those to turn them into flour. So you could use either one, and substituting the either the extra thick or the quick cooking for rolled oats in recipes. It's going to really depend on what it is you're making. So just remember that the quick cooking oats, they have been cut more and steamed longer, and so that's why they're quick cooking, and they're not going to absorb as much moisture as the old-fashioned oats, because the old-fashioned oats are going to be thicker, and so they would absorb more liquid. So it's going to depend on the recipe and the moisture level, and you're just going to have to experiment, unfortunately. So if you're using them, let's say like we use them in soup as a little bit of thickener, and I also use it as a little bit of thickener in our Chipotle nacho cheese sauce. So it wouldn't matter, because the blender's going to blend those up, and so it wouldn't matter which one you used. You could either use the extra thick or you could use the quick cooking, and it wouldn't matter. But if you're baking something with them, then I would maybe use the extra thick instead of the quick cooking, because that might be closer to the old-fashioned. The extra thick ones are a little bit thicker than the old-fashioned oats, and so maybe you would just use a little bit less. So kind of play around with it and see what happens. And then the other thing, you were going to talk about the super cubes, and you probably should talk about that so that you can pop those back in the freezer.
Oh, they're going to stay frozen in that bag.
Oh, they are? So you want me to come back to that?
No, we can. No, I'll talk about it now if you want. Thank you to Nadej, one of our viewers here on the chat.
One of our community members.
Yes, or tribe member. Suggested to us that we check in with the Supercubes company about getting a direct affiliateship with them, so that people could actually get the Supercubes from Jake and Michelle out here in California and not have to go through a third party. And then evidently, Nadej, you reached out to them. They actually emailed us yesterday morning before I ever wrote them, based on your suggestion, and signed us and let us know that they had an affiliateship and they wanted us to sign up for it. So we did that, and we are actually all set up, and you'll find the Supercubes affiliate link now on our show notes here. And thanks to Nadej for suggesting that we do that. We didn't know it was a possibility, and it's just the way that timing worked out. They had just set it up.
So you want to grab them so that people who don't know what super cubes are.
Oh, that's right. What are super cubes? I'm kind of like
Hello.
My cart is like.
He does this to me all the time.
What conversation are we on?
Yeah, or sometimes he'll start talking about something because he's been thinking about it in his head, and I'll say, "Wait a second, I don't know where you're at," because he'll just start talking about it. I'm like, I'm not with you. I don't know where you are on this.
Okay, so what's going on today is all of our Supercube freezer things are in use. There's 4 1-cup servings of ginger butternut. This is the one off
the curry ginger soup.
This is the one off the subscriber menu.
Yes.
Yes. And so
if you saw us on Friday on Chef AJ's show,
we made a bunch of soup on our last live.
Yeah, so we had 2 full batches of it, and so we're freezing it, and these are the super cubes.
Oh, this is a follow-up to Friday's video. That's what this is.
Yeah. So these are silicone. These are the 1-cup cubes.
This is the 2-cup.
And that's the 2-cup. And so now that they're frozen, we will let them sit on the counter for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll pop the cubes out. We'll put them in freezer bags. If you don't want to use the plastic freezer bags, whatever kind of freezer-safe container you have, you can use. And then I labeled the freezer bag with what it is, and then the bag goes in the freezer, and it takes up a lot less space.
Here's the coolest thing, that this is in a nice, it can show up here. That is 2, 4, so that's 8 cups of soup in a very stackable frozen soup brick, and it's I package it so I've got my serving, the 2-cup serving, and then Tammy will typically do a cup of soup along with something else she's eating, and so there's 4 1-cup servings in here.
Yeah, but sometimes I like 2 cups.
Yeah. So, but you can stack these. You can get a lot of soup.
Yeah, and instead of don't put the tag up here like I did on this one.
Put it on the end.
It needs to go on the end. That way, when you have these stacked up in your freezer, you can easily see on the edge of it what you have. So, and then, and it's important also on the super cubes, I like to put a tag on there just so we remember, because sometimes Tom will freeze something and I don't know what he froze and he hasn't popped them out into a bag yet, and I'm like, what is this? He's like, I don't know.
It's frozen soup. So anyway, these are working out for us really well, really conserving on freezer space, much more so than our Tupperware that we used to, with all of the roundy shapes and round corners and air gaps. So this is working great.
Yeah, so and we're very happy, and I wish I could remember the sweet gal's name who introduced us to the super cubes on the cruise.
A couple of them on the cruise.
Yeah.
One thing, the first time you go to Jake and Michelle's super cube site, follow the link down below in the show notes, you get an opportunity there, the little pop-up, just like ours comes up, to sign up for their newsletter. When you do that, they will send you a 10% off coupon off of your first order. So that will save a few dollars for you. These aren't inexpensive, but they're proving to be very high quality and very worth the investment for us in terms of freezer space. And for me, just being able to pop one of these out and only heat up the amount that I want instead of having to heat up twice as much to thaw out twice as much as what I want is what I was doing before.
Right.
So this is working really well for us.
Because we can just put this in a glass bowl and heat it up.
Yeah, and then there's another older video that I think we have super cubes even named in the thumbnail that we talk a little bit more about features and benefits. And
in one of our lives.
One of the previous lives.
Yeah.
Gets into this in a little more detail.
Must have been in March.
But anyway, Nadej, thank you. We are now officially affiliated with the Supercube company, and thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, and we love supporting the mom and pop businesses. So there's so many that are providing services or products for us whole food plant-based eaters, and so we really enjoy being able to support them. And you're going to go put that stuff away? Great. And so we just share with you what works for us and hope that you would enjoy using some of the same products. So moving on, we're going to talk about iodine. So last week I was talking to you about the kombu, which is seaweed that is used we use it when we cook beans, and we were talking about finding a supplier from Maine, and we did find some and we've ordered it, but we don't have it. And so Tom has it in a link in the show notes. We have it on our Amazon page. And Carol sent me a really nice email and a Facebook message because she wanted to point out, because I also talked about how it is high in iodine because it comes from the sea, and sea vegetables are high in iodine. This is a little bit damp here. Anyway, she sent me an email and she said she wanted to make sure that we pointed out to our viewers that too much iodine is also not good. Having too little is not good, but also having too much is not good, which is very true. It causes issues with your thyroid going either way. So I just want you to know that in the How Not to Die book by Dr. Greger, which we love Dr. Greger, and he has the blog nutritionfacts.org. And what we love about Dr. Greger is he doesn't put out videos publishing his opinion. He publishes what the scientific evidence shows, and he is whole food plant-based, and he's no oil, and he is a great resource when you guys have questions about anything about plant-based or medical conditions. So you can just go to nutritionfacts.org. He has a great search engine, and he puts out amazing videos with scientific evidence, and he always links to the scientific study that he's referring to. And so I wanted to share with you what he says about iodine. So he says that we just need 150 mcgs a day, which would be the equivalent of what you would get from 2 nori sheets. Okay, and if you are not, if you're eating a low sodium diet and you're not eating a lot of processed foods, then you're not taking in the iodized salt. And it was back in about the 1920s that in the United States they started adding iodizing the salt so that people would get enough iodine in their diet. And so when you cut out the processed foods, then you're cutting out a lot of the iodine that you would normally get if you were using a salt shaker or processed foods that are being made with iodized salt. So you can get tested for it. So they can do 2 different kinds of tests. They can do an iodine patch where they paint on iodine onto like your arm, and then they take a look at it 24 hours later. And if you have a good supply of iodine, a good amount of iodine in your system, then it won't start fading until about 24 hours later. But if it starts fading, if that iodine patch starts fading in color prior to the 24 hours, then it most likely means that you have a deficiency in iodine. And so just like anything else that you're worried about, always get tested before you think, oh, I might be too high or I might be too low. You want to be tested and know exactly where you're at. So you don't want to be taking supplements unless you know that you need them. And the same with the iodine. If you're concerned about getting too much or not getting enough, then you should be tested and know where you're at. But if you are following a very low sodium diet, then you should talk to your physician about that. And that way, if you do need to supplement, then you can do it safely. Sea vegetables are a really good source for those of us who are eating a whole food plant-based low sodium diet. So he also says in his book that about half a teaspoon of dulse, if I'm pronouncing it right, D-U-L-S-E, sprinkled on different dishes, it could be your vegetables, it could be a salad, a day would give you the equivalent. And also he says a half a teaspoon of kelp, which is really high in iodine, could exceed the daily limit. And so you want to be cautious and be aware of that. So he talks all about iodine on page 409 in the How Not to Diet book. And this is a great resource. You can get the audio version, but I like the book because I like to be able to look things up in it, just like I did today regarding iodine, just so I could share some information with you. So he also talked about how the Eden brand canned beans, these are in a BPA-free lining can. They are no salt added, but they do have kombu seaweed in them. And so this, he says, is a good source to get a small amount of the iodine. And just like, you know, making beans at home and you can add a little bit of combo to them, that's what the Eden brand is, the brand. And these I purchased at Whole Foods. because the brand that I normally buy there, they were out of. These are kept on the bottom shelf, and I had actually never noticed them before the pandemic. So, and it was a good bargain buying a big can like this, because this is a 29-ounce can, and they're absolutely delicious. So there you go. So anyway, he says in his book that for people who avoid seafood and dairy products and who do not appear to have impaired thyroid function, that he wouldn't leave it. Oh, and for people who are pregnant women, he would not leave it to chance, because iodine's critical for brain development. And he agrees with the American Thyroid Association's recommendation that all North American pregnant and breastfeeding women receive a prenatal vitamin containing 150 mcgs of iodine daily. So there you go. So any questions about nori? I know that Chef AJ, to get iodine, she loves the smoked nori, and so she gets the smoked. Now, you know, there's a lot of the little nori sacks of snacks that are available. I know Costco sells some. You see a wide variety of them at Whole Foods, and he does caution people to look at the ingredient list, because those usually have oil added to them, and so he does not recommend that you use those just because they have oil added.
There's a question while you're on that on what type of iodine issue, thyroid issue do you have?
Oh, well, I am hypothyroid, but I don't have an issue with the iodine. I'm okay. So you can be tested for it, and it's a, you know, before you start supplementing, you may not need to. Make sure that you're tested for it. Okay. So that is the iodine. Oh, and there is a blood test for it too. Your doctor can order a blood test as well. So tying in with that, Carrie, with the chickpeas, and Carrie said, I posted a chickpea salad, a picture of a chickpea salad I made last week, and she said, when is that going to be ready? It's not ready. I have to make it again because I need to tweak it a little bit. It was good, but it wasn't perfect. And so I need to make it again. I just haven't been in the mood to eat it this week, and so I haven't made it again. So it'll be probably a few weeks because I need to make it again, tweak it, and then, you know, see if it's perfect. If it's perfect, then I'll be ready to publish it. But I like to try the recipes several times before I post them and share them, because I want to make sure that I have my best version. Okay?
You're doing good.
Okay.
You're getting almost done with the first page.
I know, I'm doing good.
We do have some, we will come back to the, excuse me, to the chat feed and cruise for questions when Tammy's done with the
Okay, unless there's any questions about any of this stuff.
If it's directly relevant to what you're talking about, yeah, I'll grab it.
Okay, all right. And, you know, in his book, too, he does talk about vitamin B12 and D and all of that. And certainly you want to get tested for all of those things. And we've been tested for B12. We always ask for that every year when we have our physicals. And we're fine with our B12. We do supplement. So, you know, you just want to stay on top of things. So Julie asked, how do you manage your pantry items? Do you keep a count of what you have? And how do you know when to replenish? And so, you know, we've been eating this way long enough, Julie, that we know pretty much what we need. And so we usually grocery shop on Thursdays.
It's pretty repetitive. The core staples are just replenishing the week's inventory. So it's pretty fresh on our mind every single week.
Right. So if we're starting to run out of things, if we're running out of something, then Tom will take, like if he finds an empty container of something or empty box or whatever, or the last can
Well,
or
on
something.
Thursday morning, so I go out and I inventory the potatoes and
Rice.
and the rice, which we keep, you know, in the garage. And then I'll inventory my frozen vegetables. I'll come inside and I'll inventory onions and the pantry potatoes that might be in there. And I'll check the beans. And then I check my tofu supply for my steamed vegetable soup.
And almond milk.
And so it's kind of such a routine that, you know, we're not making a list during the week. We're just doing
Well, I do if I notice that I'm low on something,
or if
I'll
you're-
write it down.
Or if you're dialing on a particular recipe.
Yeah. Then I'll take a little note card that I keep on the kitchen counter. And, you know, if it's something that comes from Costco, I make a list for Costco, I make a list for Whole Foods, and I make a list for Trader Joe's. But we don't go to Trader Joe's every week right now. You know, we try to limit
It's about every other week now.
Yeah, we try to limit it to just 2 stores, but this past week we did have to go there to get some things. And so then we'll just jot it down. But, and if I'm, you know, if I have an idea for a recipe and I know I need something specific, you know, then I'll write it down. But we you know, buy the same salad ingredients every week. I know exactly what I need to batch prep our salads. And we know, you know, how many beans we like to have on hand and the grains and so forth. And so we just replenish them as we need them. So I hope that answers your question. I know that some people keep like a whiteboard on their refrigerator and on their freezer, and they make a list of what they have, and when they use it up, then or when they use something, let's say they have 3 bags of frozen corn. And so they have an inventory on the outside of their freezer and it says, you know, corn, 3. And so when they take a bag out, then they erase the 3 and put a 2 on there. And that way they know when they...
And there's flat screen refrigerators now
that
too.
do that.
That help you keep track of your... They're crazy expensive, like $6,000, and you can have a
Well, our next door neighbors have one of those
TV monitor on your
smart refrigerators.
Yeah.
That does that. So
we get carried away, but not that far.
yeah, so we've just been eating this way for a long enough time that, you know, we have just a sense of what we need, and because it's the 2 of us and we eat pretty much the same stuff every week, we just know now what we need. And even
our routine at the grocery store is consistent. I grab potatoes and onions at the grocery store, and then we circle around and one of us holds the bag for the sweet potatoes, the Hannah's and the Japanese sweet potatoes. Then we circle on around and pick up the cherry tomatoes from the organic pile at Whole Foods, and then we circle on and grab the fresh kale and go on down that, you know, so there's even a choreographed dance through the store that really doesn't change, because we're not going over and, you know, we walk completely around the processed department, so there's no need to go in there.
It's true, we do.
What's next?
Okay, so that's how we do the pantry items. And just to tie into this, Misty Blue is the name of the person from Instagram that asked me, how do you tackle meal prep? And so that ties right in with the whole keeping track of the pantry and grocery shopping, which you just talked about. And so what we do is then when we get home on Thursday, we put everything away. I usually wash the tomatoes right away, and then if I have cilantro or other fresh herbs, you know, I'll go ahead and rinse those and lay them out on towels so they can dry. And then on either Friday or Saturday or Sunday, it just depends on.
It's been Sunday, like Sunday morning.
Well, I did some
prepping.
batch prep. I did some batch cooking Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday I didn't feel so great, so I cleaned house and did stuff in laundry and that. And then I did more batch prep this morning. And so we have pretty much automated how we eat. And so Tom eats the same breakfast every day. And so, we don't batch prep anything for that. And then I make our salads I make 12 of them, so that gets us through 6 days. And so for one meal a day, we each have a salad that we chop. And so then we just have one other meal that we have to figure out. And we batch cook all of our starches and our beans and our potatoes and all of that. And so then we just take those different ingredients that we have batch prepped and we make meals out of them. And so unless we're having...
I've got my meal plan.
Your meal
Oats
plan.
for breakfast, steamed vegetables for lunch, and chopped salad for dinner. That's my meal plan.
Pretty much every day.
Yeah. I mean, on some days we'll throw in, maybe an Asian something or
one day a
or
week.
A burrito, but
one day a week we like to get takeout from our favorite vegan Asian restaurant. And we haven't done that this week yet. We didn't do that. I just thought of that.
That's because we had Chef AJ's thing on Friday.
Yeah, and so it's pretty.
I'm going to interrupt you. Thank you to Kathy Worth for the super chat. That's very kind of you. Thank you for the.
Aw, that's nice.
But you retracted your message. So anyway, thank you for the super chat.
That's nice. So meal planning for us is pretty simple, basic, and easy because we're not cooking for a family. So our daughter is whole food plant-based and has 3 children, and her husband's niece is also staying with them. And so she is cooking for 6 people every day. And I can tell you that she makes a meal plan for the week, and she makes enough that everything that she makes will feed them twice. And so she'll, make out a list.
Are you hearing this, Randy? Randy, this.
What?
Randy's going to the grocery store every day.
Oh, stop that. Go to the grocery store every day? Where does Randy live?
Where do you live?
Oh, I wouldn't want that much exposure right now to people. But anyway, and that's when we were raising our kids, and we had extra kids here all the time to eat meals with us. But that is also what I would do. So I would make a menu plan for the week, and we'd have Mexican one night and Italian another.
It wasn't our kids that was extra.
But we would have extra our
it
kids
would be
as
our
friends.
Kids plus extra kids.
Yeah, we always had extra kids here, though. Oh, we were always feeding somebody extra. And so I would make out a menu, and I would also try to make enough so that every meal would feed us twice. And that way I only had to cook like 3 new entrees every week. And then, and we would have one night would be like leftovers. And like we would have one night that would be Sunday night was once the kids got older, was fend for yourself, because that was my night off. Mm-hmm. And so everybody could just choose something frozen, or they could make toast and have cereal if they wanted. It was like...
I remember that. Oh no, it's fend for yourself night.
And I was like, yes!
No free rides.
So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. And once our daughter isn't quite so busy with so many little children, I hope to have her do a guest blog post and share how she menu plans and how she feeds
for a young family,
the kids,
yeah.
Because it's quite the feat, especially when you're making everything from scratch. It's quite an ordeal. Okay, so Gail said, I'm a bit of a nibbler, so by mealtime, I'm not overly hungry. The nibbles are healthy things, but am I sabotaging my metabolism? Well, I don't really know. I'll tell you that. So I was reading through the How Not to Diet and what Dr. Greger was having to say. And there's an interesting information in here about intermittent fasting and what they have learned about doing that. And so my question to you is, like, I'm kind of results driven. And so if what you're doing is working for you,
and you're feeling great and your labs are good, and you're at a healthy weight that you're happy with, then maybe you don't need to change anything. And but if that's not true, since you're asking about your metabolism, if you have weight to lose, then maybe you would think about trying to have meals instead of nibbling all day. And when you're nibbling all day long, you're never giving your body a rest from digesting, because you're constantly feeding it. And I know for myself that if I'm constantly eating, that just seems to stimulate my appetite and make me hungrier.
If we had nibbly stuff laying around, I know I would be constantly in it. I mean, if you had bowls of almond or bowls of popcorn or things like that around.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have bowls of cherry tomatoes laying around, and I will occasionally just grab one of those on the way past through the doorway and pop it in my mouth. But if I had nibbly stuff laying around, I would be nibbling it. It gets back to an environmental thing, and then back to, do you have a need to change or a desire to change or not? Whether it was Chef AJ or one of the other, or one of the weight loss doctors, they would talk about, eat your vegetables for breakfast, and then have your noontime meal, and then have your evening meal, and be done before 7. And it's even okay to be a little bit hungry before mealtime, because you're giving your body that chance to recover and focus on other metabolic needs.
That's right.
Than cranking out the digestion. So is it a habit, or is it because you're truly hungry? If it's a habit, it might not be, for me, habits aren't in my best interest. For me, habits,
So Gail, if you're watching, if you can answer, if you feel like you need to lose weight, or, since you're asking about the metabolism aspect of it. So, I find that if I eat enough at a meal, I'm not hungry and don't need a snack until my next meal. And so unless, something happens and my next meal gets delayed, which like sometimes that happens when I'm, at our daughter's house and helping with the kids. If her husband's running late or something, then, I might not get to eat at my regular dinner time, but the hunger will come and then it will pass. And then, so initially, like at the time that I usually eat, I'll start to get hungry, but, 10 minutes or so later, that will pass and I won't feel that urge to eat again, and I'll be fine until I get home. So, so when you're watching like Chef AJ did, The Truth About Weight Loss, most of the doctors on there talk about narrowing your eating window and, not be eating all the time and giving your body a rest. And so, but I'm again, it's all about results. If it's working for you, then keep doing it. But if there's something about it not working, then maybe try to eat more established meals. So Mr. Tobias from Instagram said, he was asking about aquafaba and said, besides brownies, what do you use it for, the aquafaba? And the aquafaba is the bean broth from garbanzo beans. And it's a bit thick, kind of viscous, and it replaces like using egg whites in a lot of recipes. It can replace oil in some recipes, and some people will take and whip it with a hand blender, and it will peak kind of like how you whip egg whites. And of course they're adding sugar to it and making like meringues or meringue pie. I did one Christmas, made the family a chocolate mousse, and I whipped the aquafaba, and it was kind of like egg whites, beaten egg whites with a little bit of cream of tartar in it, and then added melted chocolate, and it was like a chocolate mousse. So, but way too calorie dense. Although it was super delicious and they loved it. But, so I use it is a liquid in my hummus when I make hummus. And so I will drain the garbanzo beans and I will keep the aquafaba, and then I add back in like 6 tablespoons of it into my hummus. And Tom linked to my hummus recipe down below the show notes. And in my sheet pan roasted vegetables, I use a couple tablespoons of it in my vegetables for the oven because it helps the vegetables stay nice and moist, and it helps the seasonings adhere to the vegetables. And so I'm using it in place of oil, and it works great. So you can save the aquafaba by putting it into like silicone ice cube trays. Once it's frozen, pop them out, put them in a freezer safe container, and then you can pull out 1 or 2 cubes as needed. So, and the sheet pan roasted vegetable recipe and the hummus recipe are both posted in the show notes. So then, Vegana, is it Vegana? It's Vegana, Vegana, or Vegana, Anna. I'm not sure. From Instagram said, how about some dessert ideas? I know you do nice cream, which you know is frozen bananas and other fruits, and we love to make that in our Champion juicer, or you can use a Yonanas, or you can use your food processor or your blender. And that is probably our favorite dessert. To have that, we really like, we're on a kick of the banana cherry, and that's the one that our grandkids absolutely adore. And so that's probably our favorite dessert. She says you also have your quinoa banana oat muffins, but what else do you make with it? So, but what else do you have for dessert? So we usually don't have dessert because we're usually too full. That is the thing about eating a whole food plant-based diet, is that our meals are so healthy and so filling.
Yeah.
Because fruits and vegetables are so, and the grains, the cooked grains, are so full of fiber and water that they create a lot of bulk in your stomach and they fill you up. And so often, even though I think, I'll think before we eat, oh, we're going to make, banana and ice cream tonight, we will both be too full after dinner and we won't have any room for dessert. So, so that is probably our favorite. And then we really love the cobbler. There's a cherry peach cobbler recipe, and that
it's just fruit and oats.
It's just, and so you can use fresh fruit or frozen fruit. And then we use the quinoa banana oat muffin mix. And I think there's about 6 different recipes that I have on the blog where you use my muffin mix, the dry mix, to make different desserts. And there's a perfectly peachy pie. So if you go to the quinoa banana oat muffin recipe on the blog, which I put in the show notes, and you scroll down, I have links to all the other recipes that you can make using that, including a dehydrated granola that's also very good. You can add that to a bowl and put a little bit of almond milk or whatever plant milk you like in it, and a little bit of fruit, and that makes a delicious dessert.
Vegana says it's pronounced vegana. G, hard G, like in vegan.
Okay,
it's
thank
Spanish,
you. Vegana.
Like
vegana.
Irlita in Spanish.
Yes,
so
yes.
It's female vegan, vegana.
Got it.
Spanish.
Thank you so much, and thank you for watching. Then
Susie D says, what? No room for dessert? No.
I know, it's crazy. That's why, you should have dessert first, right?
Well, if you're trying to get done, I find myself, as I'm grazing on my salad I eat at night, and I'm looking at the clock, it's getting close to 7. And I always have that, I forget which, whether it's Chef AJ or Dr. Goldhammer or Dr. Grammer, have your eating done and then have, the 12-hour fasting window. So I'm always trying to beat the clock on that.
Well, I'm not done with dessert, though. I'm not done talking about dessert.
Okay, I'll wait until you're done with dessert.
Okay, wait till I'm done.
We're not done with dessert.
Okay, So there are other dessert recipes on the blog. So there is an apple cinnamon dessert hummus, which I was going to name it Snickerdoodle hummus because it makes me think of a Snickerdoodle cookie. And I should have, because it's a much catchier name than apple cinnamon dessert. But it is super delicious and kids love it. And you can take, chunks of banana or fresh strawberries or apple slices and dip in it, and it's delicious. The fall pudding, we love that. That is just made with sweet potatoes and bananas and cinnamon, and it's delicious. There's a raw berry crisp recipe, and if you go to the blog, across the top is a tab that says recipes. Click on that and then scroll down and click on desserts. And a lot of these older recipes will show up. The newer ones, I haven't had time to go in and put them in that recipe navigation page, but these older recipes will show up. There's a raw berry crisp where you take, whatever fresh berries you can get. It's nice if you can get strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries, and blackberries. And then you just take some nuts and some dates and put them in the food processor, and it makes a super delicious raw dessert that's incredible. Now, this is something that we really enjoy, and this is just a Japanese sweet potato that has been oven roasted and then chilled in the refrigerator when we batch cook once a week. Then I'll take it cold from the refrigerator, I cut it in half, I've scored it with a paring knife, so just cut on a diagonal one direction and then cut on a diagonal the other direction. Put it in the air fryer for 20 minutes, 400 degrees. I don't preheat the air fryer. I put it in cold, then turn it on to 400 degrees, 20 minutes. The outside of it gets all nice and crispy, and something absolutely magical happens when you air fry a potato that's already been cooked, whether it's a Yukon Gold, a regular sweet potato, a garnet yam, a Hana yam, or a Japanese sweet potato. They turn out amazing. And then I sprinkle, this is my absolutely favorite cinnamon from local spicery. It's the Saigon Cassia cinnamon. And it tastes like it has sugar in it. It is absolutely amazing. In fact, Nick says when he sells it to somebody for the first time, they will sometimes come back and say, that cinnamon had sugar in it. I know it did. And he's like, no, it didn't. But it tastes super sweet. So, and you just do a little sprinkle of that over the sweet potato. We love it just like this. Or if you have some of the California balsamic fruit flavored vinegars, the peach, any of them are absolutely delicious over this. He has a new pineapple one and just a little tiny drizzle. So for our weight loss classes that we have, I will make this for dessert. Because when we have our classes, the people come 4 weeks in a row, and I cook an entire meal. Well, we do, because it's a team effort. We cook an entire meal for them and feed them. And one night we do this for dessert, and they cannot believe how amazing something this simple can taste, because it takes hardly any work to put together. And so any of the fruit flavored vinegars from California balsamic and a tiny little drizzle is all you need, and it's perfection.
And Fooly Julie, we air fry the JSPs just how you see them sitting there, skin side down, the scored side up. Scoring them kind of helps with the air frying part.
Yeah, so it makes them super delicious, because when you oven roast them, the sugars, the natural sugars in the sweet potatoes come out and they caramelize. And then everything gets cold. And then when you put them in the air fryer, and if you don't have an air fryer, do this under a broiler. Because when I go to my mom and dad's, my mom and dad don't have an air fryer.
You have to watch it more closely.
Right. And so I just use the broiler. And at our daughter's house, she doesn't have an air fryer. So at her house, I'll just put them under the broiler. And our grandkids go crazy for this. And what's nice about it is once you've scored it like this, then
the cinnamon gets down in there.
Yes. And then the pieces, it's really easy to take a piece off, because the kids don't want the skin. which is great because then Lita gets to eat it. But and then I'll just share it with them and take a piece off at a time for them. So super simple, easy, but really delicious. But if you're looking for whole food plant-based desserts, then Brittany from the Giroudi family.
Brittany's here with us today.
Oh, Brittany's here. Hey, Brittany. She has a ton of recipes. She loves chocolate, and she makes all kinds of wonderful, amazing desserts. So do check out her recipes for desserts.
Yeah, the Giroudi family is the name of her YouTube channel. So
yes, and she also has a blog, and she posts new recipes like twice a week. And then of course Chef AJ has hundreds of videos where she shares all kinds of whole food plant-based desserts. And also my friend Shada, who has Healthy Cooking with Shada, she also has delicious desserts.
Okay. Beth Promick had a question about the aquafaba. She's been making the garbanzo beans in her, herself.
Pressure cooker.
But not getting that thick, rich aquafaba sauce. We have found that to be true as well.
I don't get it either, and maybe we use too much water, but I know
or maybe there's a cooking, well, it's thicker coming out of here.
It's thicker out of this. So somebody did tell me that they take the broth and they put it in a saucepan on top of their stove and simmer it so that it will reduce down and become thicker. And so, but buy one can because you'll get a lot of aquafaba out of one can of beans, and then drain it and put it in ice cube tray and just save it. Because, that's what I do when I need some aquafaba. I keep some canned beans on hand, and then I just use those.
Foolie Julie wants to know how long at 400 degrees?
20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have an entire video from July 23rd, because it was my 60th birthday, and we did a video all about how we oven roast our potatoes and lots of different things that we do with them. So check that out. It was a live YouTube video from July of last year, 2019.
Okay. How are you doing on that list?
I'm doing good. Okay, so let me come back here, make sure we got everything off of that. Okay, so Louisa wanted to know what entrees do we have that are in the freezer right now. And that I saw that just like right before we went live, so I didn't have time to go out there. But I will tell you what is usually in there. Well, I know that there is Chef AJ's cauliflower bisque in there because I made a big batch of that last week. And then, of course, the curry ginger butternut squash soup that we just made on Friday. So we have that in there. And then we have the hearty lentil vegetable stew, which is it's a really popular recipe on our blog. The recipe is made in a pressure cooker, and you do need an 8-quart in order to make the full recipe. If you only have the 6-quart pressure cooker, cut the recipe in half so that it will all fit. But that is a family favorite recipe. I have my marinara sauce out there. Right now I'm out of taco lentils, but I usually have also taco lentils in there. And then
I have mini bags of frozen vegetables.
Yeah, well, she's talking about our homemade entrees.
Homemade stuff, okay.
That we have out there. So, and then there's a couple other soups that are out there right now as well. And the spicy black bean burgers, that recipe we did a month or so ago.
You have some frozen cookies out there too, or?
In here.
Yeah,
we have some of the brownies are frozen and some cookies that are frozen. And if you saw Chef AJ's live yesterday, our friend Linda Middlesworth was on there, and she made banana oat cookies, and I made a batch of those this morning. A small batch, and I froze the cookies from that.
Okay.
So we do have some treats if we want them.
Or if I don't feel like chopping a salad, I can go out there and be lazy and grab a soup. So
yeah, and sometimes, you know, we like to have that backup. Oh, and then when I cook beans, when I make our homemade beans, if we're not eating them up fast enough, because they're really only good for about 5 days in the refrigerator before they start to go bad, then we'll put them in the super cubes now.
and turn them into little bean bricks.
And turn them into,
so cool.
and turn them into bean bricks. And so we oftentimes will have frozen beans out there as well. So it just depends on, you know, if I'm going to make veggie burgers or taco lentils, or what else do we like? The lentil loaf, or I don't know if you guys have tried the barbecue lentil muffins. Those are so good, and I've been thinking about those because I haven't made those in a while, but those freeze really well. So I always like to make a big batch or a double batch so that I can freeze that stuff, and then we can have quick and easy meals. Okay, so Betty wanted to know, will you be doing an online ultimate weight loss class? And the answer is no, because the agreement that we have with Chef AJ to do the ultimate weight loss classes is that we will do them only in our local area, because she has her online program. And so we're going to have to think about what we're going to do, because we wanted to do a local program for our local people, and since we're
clearly we can't right now.
No, and so you know, we're thinking about maybe there's a way we can do an online for the local community, and we'll have to see.
We'll have to sort that out.
But what we're thinking about doing is some online cooking classes.
Yeah.
And so because it could work like it did Friday with Chef AJ doing the Zoom, so we could either do it as a Zoom, and it would be a fee-based because it's actually a lot of work. You know, we spent Thursday shopping and prepping food, and then all morning on Friday prepping the food for the demo for her.
That hour-and-a-half video was about 10 hours of work.
Yeah. So we would have to charge a fee to do that, but that way we could reach a bigger audience. And so then those of you who live too far away to attend our cooking classes, you would
attend virtually, yeah.
Yeah, you could attend virtually. The only thing you won't get is to taste the food, because when we do our
I'll taste it for them.
You'll taste it for them. When we do our in-person classes, of course, everybody gets to eat the food at the end. So, okay. So watch for that, and if you're interested, let us know what you would be interested in. So I have some different ideas. You know, we could do a Mediterranean theme, we could do an Indian theme, we could do a Mexican theme cooking, we could do soup and salad, we could do one, you know, like all about wraps. I could show you how to make spring rolls, and the fresh spring rolls, and how to make crispy ones without oil in the air fryer, and how to do the use the Swiss chard to make green wraps, and you know, and I don't know what we could think of, lots of things.
Jacqueline Torres has a question for you. Do you bake your own bread? No, we don't bake bread, because we typically don't eat bread, because bread is highly processed flours, sugars, and whatever else goes into bread.
A lot of salt usually.
Yeah.
But we don't. But if you eat bread and make your own bread, you know, that's wonderful. And I used to love to make. We had a bread machine at one time that was wonderful, and then I kind of got into, for a while, making I forget what they call, but the artisan bread, the easy quick one that you just make in the oven, in like a Dutch oven, and that was great. But I'm gluten-free now, because when my thyroid kind of went crazy, then I started developing a sensitivity to gluten, and so now I'm gluten-free, so I avoid eating bread, and Tom's gotten away from eating it because he's much more...
It's out of sight and out of mind.
Yeah, and he's much more satified when he has the whole grains, or
I probably
has
turned
the
in
potatoes.
the bread for our very simple corn tortillas. I mean, I eat, you know...
Corn tortillas instead.
Corn tortillas instead,
Yeah.
and so there's just not as much stuff in them. You know,
Yeah.
it's less processed.
Once in a while, we do keep a loaf of bread in our freezer for when the grandkids are here. And once in a while, Tom will have a piece of toast with like some peanut butter on it. But it's not a regular thing in our diet. Okay, so now Bev asked some questions.
Bev Homick is here today.
Hey Bev, so we're gonna talk about your questions because I think they're good questions that everybody would be interested in hearing about. So she was asking us what our thoughts on using plastic, because she's noticed like in our batch cooking videos that we have a lot of plastic containers that we use to put the food in, which is true, but we're trying to slowly move away from that. And so the super cubes are helping us at least with part of it. We don't have an alternative yet to the gallon size plastic bags. So we are aware that there are a lot of chemicals in plastics that can be harmful. And so we do look for BPA free when we are purchasing
Yeah, I went
plastics.
checking the numbers on the bottom of our containers and stuff, and like some of the clear hard plastic containers we use for chia seed and for hemp seed, they are type number 7, but they are BPA free. So they're stating that they're BPA free. There are other type 7s that are not. Type 7 is a catch-all for everything.
Yeah, and so supposedly the Rubbermaid containers, the plastic ones that we have used in the past to freeze our rice and our soups in the freezer, which we're getting away from doing it that way, but those are also a number that the FDA says is safe.
5.
It's a type, those are a type 5 plastic. And, you know, we have our snap lock lid containers that have the glass bottom, and then the top, just the top is plastic.
And that's kind of a vinyl stuff, and that's also on the safe list. So yeah,
it's an absolute minefield when you
I
start
told
looking
Tammy,
it up.
because we've been researching this off and on over the week, and you get into the tall weeds really quickly when you
So,
start
I
researching
was going to
this.
grab our water
Yeah.
bottles that we use.
But what we have done is we've moved away from, even though they're on the safe list, water bottles are typically in type 1, but we went to the stainless steel bottles over a year ago.
The hydro flasks.
And
We
so that's-
use these instead of bottled water, and then we fill them with our filtered water from our refrigerator. And so when we go places, you know, we take these with us instead of buying bottled water. And so when we were at True North, we went to True North this past December and stayed for a weekend, and we weren't fasting, but we had friends that were there fasting. And so if they have rooms available, you can pay the fee to stay there. And then you also get to listen to all the lecturers. And so we were listening to Dr. Joshua Hellman, and he did a lecture all about plastics and how they contain hormone disruptors, and it was really scary.
And
I
there's
will
some
say that.
scientific names in like the was it the Harvard study talked about the hormones in
Yeah, so
disruptors
it's
in some of the-
disruptive to men and testosterone. It's disruptive to women
And
for estrogen. And so it is certainly an area that
Those conversations mostly evolved around BPA,
Yes.
or the replacement to BPA, BFS, or another one.
Yeah, but our world is surrounded by plastics. We have, you know, in your home, there's a lot of things that have plastic. Then, you know, the light switches and there's so much in a home.
The front door of the microwave.
Yeah, there's plastic everywhere. So it is something that we've been aware of, and certainly
becoming more aware.
Yes, and becoming more aware of. And it's a transition. It's like anything. It's like when you first go plant-based, and then, you know, you're making all of those food transitions, and then you start learning about the animals. And so then you start thinking differently about your purchases outside of food. And then we learn about plastic and the impact it has on the environment and the ocean and aquatic life. And so that starts changing some things too. So it's we just haven't been able to do everything overnight. And so we're slowly making transitions, and I would be interested in knowing what other people are doing about the plastics. So here's some things that we learned, and so we try to be smart about the plastics that we do use. So we don't put them in the microwave, and we don't put any plastic things in the dishwasher.
And if they get damaged, we pitch them.
And if anything gets damaged, because there's a problem if things get scratched, plastics get scratched or scraped, then the chemicals can leak. And heat will cause them to break down and be more apt to leak. So we do put our salads in the plastic containers. And, of course, those are cold and they go into the cold fridge. And when we were using the plastic containers to put our soup in, then we wouldn't microwave the soup in the plastic containers.
Go into a glass one.
We would transfer them to a glass container, and then we would never put the plastic container in the dishwasher. We wash all of the plastic things that we have by hand. And so we're still looking for alternatives. I don't know what that would be to put our salads in that we could have a dozen of that would still fit in the refrigerator. But certainly, like the Dr. Greger has some good videos on plastics. If you go to nutritionfacts.org, and he says, better to move towards glass and stainless steel. And he also said something about Tupperware. And so I know that Tupperware has really high standards, and they try to exceed what and improve on what they're making, and stay underneath, like whatever level the state of California says, you can have up to this level. They always try to have something that contains much less than whatever chemical level the state of California will allow them to have. So maybe Tupperware is something to look into to see if that's safer than the inexpensive plastic things that you can get at like Walmart and Target.
Okay, I want to jump in here because Jesse and Gina are having a conversation that pertains to this directly.
Okay,
and this is exactly what I ran into when I was reading about that a lot of our stuff says non-BPA, because there's been studies that clearly show that that's bad stuff.
Yes.
It's been replaced now with Jesse's quoting here, bisphenol A. And when we were listening to Dr. Greger's commentary on this, he stated the problem is that we have studies that show that the BPA is bad, but we don't have all the studies that the replacements for the BPA, whether or not they're any better or worse. And so yes, you can say BPA free, but time and more studies will tell whether that replacement is less harmful than its predecessor. So that's what I mean. You get into the tall weeds really quick in this conversation, and we're far from experts on it. So read the Harvard study. University of Utah has a post that I found interesting.
Yeah, so we always, if we're buying anything canned, then we do get the BPA-free lining at least. And he says, to look for that. And then he also said, he talks about which foods will cause leaching more than others. And so, it is. So the more we can cook from scratch, the better. But also, better to eat the food and to keep eating the vegetables and the things that come in plastic than to not eat them, I guess is what I want to say. So we do buy our spinach that's triple washed, that's organic from either Costco or Whole Foods, and it does come in a plastic container. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I don't know.
Well, it's one that's on the safe list, the number.
The plastic, yeah. When we look at the number on the plastic on that container,
it's a food grade container.
Yeah,
so.
but can you trust the FDA? I don't know.
Okay.
Because they tell us that it's okay
we're
to
73
eat
minutes
meat.
in and gotta catch up with
so
our
anyway,
questions.
and then she was also asking, Bev was asking about quinoa flakes. What do I use them for? And I use those in the quinoa banana oat muffins is where I use the quinoa flakes. And, you know, sometimes I'll use them instead of oats when I'm making something. And so it's quinoa that has been, it's been processed kind of the same way that rolled oats have been. And so it's been like steamed and flattened. And I use them because they're very high in nutrition, nutrient dense, and have some protein in them. And I add them to a lot of things that I'm going to end up feeding to our grandkids just to try to bulk up the nutrient density of foods that I'm giving to them.
Okay.
And let's see, what else? Oh, eating hours. She said, do you try to be done eating fairly early in the evening, like by 6? We try to be done eating by 7 because we can't always be done by 6 because some nights I don't get home until 6 o'clock. And so we try to be done by 7, but that's not to say that, you know, some night if we're watching TV at 8 o'clock that I might decide to pop some popcorn. It's not that often, but we try to be, like Tom says, you know, when he's grazing on his evening chopped salad, he's kind of looking at the clock and saying, oh, 7 o'clock's coming pretty soon. And if I want dessert.
Shovel faster.
If I want dessert. So we try to be done eating by 7. And let's see, she also said your corn on the cob is probably the non-organic Costco stuff. Is your attitude that you eat it anyway and don't worry about it? I'm sure your answer is probably get it when and if you can, but if not, you don't split hairs. The corn on the cob, you know, we've been buying it at Costco because we've had a very difficult time since the pandemic hit of finding organic frozen corn, which is what we usually buy. And for about 4 or 5 weeks, our Costco had organic corn on the cob. And just the last few weeks, it's not been organic. But on the environmental working groups list of the Dirty Dozen, corn on the cob is like in the 40s on the list. And so they say it's okay to eat the sweet corn that is not organic because it has a very small amount of
so many layers of corn shuck on the corn cob that it's well protected.
Yeah, it has a very small amount of detected pesticides on it, even if it's conventionally grown. And they do say that sweet corn, papaya, and summer squash that's sold in the U.S. is that a very small amount of sweet corn, papaya, and summer squash sold in the U.S. is from genetically modified seeds. So if you want completely non-GMO, then you should buy organic. But as we all know, organic corn on the cob is not always available. So I've been buying it during the pandemic just because it's what we can get, and we do like to have corn. So you can check out the Environmental Working Group, the EWG group. They have a website, and you can look every year. They publish a new list of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And the Dirty Dozen is the dozen of fruits and vegetables that they deem from their testing have the highest amount of detectable pesticides.
I did put that link in the show notes,
yes.
So you can go directly there and find it.
And then they do the Clean 15. And as all of the plant-based doctors will tell you, buy as much organic as you can afford. But if you cannot afford to purchase organic fruits and vegetables, it's still better to eat the conventionally grown fruits and vegetables. So that is the deal on sweet corn. And we are fortunate that during the summer, our Costco does get in organic sweet corn, not for the whole summer, but for a good portion of it. And so we can buy it ahead and freeze it. And so, but I will buy it for a family barbecue or something, even if it's not organic. And our Whole
There's
Foods,
been a lot of dialogue in the thread on the whole organic and even the packaging thing. The best way to buy your packages is your vegetables is however you can get them, and the best way to eat them is however you can cook them.
That's right.
And then and once you have that baseline, then you can improve on that with organic and what kind of package and so forth. So that's
right.
always a consistent message.
It is. And so that's why, I mean, we could go to the farmer's market once a week and we could buy all of our fruits and vegetables there. It would be more expensive for us, and then it would take more time on our part to prepare it.
Come home and wash it all.
Yes, and I don't have that amount of time available right now, so I'm very happy.
When the little ones are bigger, maybe.
when our grandkids are a little bit bigger and we're not helping so much, maybe so. But right now, being able to buy organic, triple washed spinach, that all I have to do is put it in my salads, and the triple washed kale, and the pre-shredded carrots, allows me to be able to eat this way, still feel good about how I'm eating, and know that I'm still doing something good for my health. I do realize that it's not the best thing for the environment, but I'm doing the best I can right now.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. Any more questions?
Well, I'm back up to the top of the feed now, and I'm going to quick answer the ones I can.
Okay.
And I'll toss.
Because he's doing that because my explanations are too long.
Her explanations are wonderfully thorough and detailed, which is why we all love her. So anyway, Grace C. was asking, how did you both end up in California? The short answer is we were married previously, been married 41 years.
Good job.
And I got transferred in 1989 through my company from Iowa to California. And so she came with me, and my kids too. It was great.
And I came kicking and screaming and crying.
Yeah.
I didn't want to move here, but now I love it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to move away from family.
Nisha, about an hour ago, asked, how are you both during this quarantine? We actually are doing great. We are making our once-a-week trips to the grocery store. That's it. We're sheltering pretty well and helping with our immediate family.
And maybe once a week we go pick up takeout from our favorite Asian
But as you
restaurant.
know, we're quite busy with our plant-based community, and so we're working as fast and as hard as we always do.
We
So
have no downtime right now.
So
In
it's
fact,
not pulling us away from our work. It's pushed us into it even further.
yeah,
So,
because we're still helping with our grandchildren because there's a need there, and
Yeah.
so we are as busy as we have ever been.
Now this is real important. Barbara M. asked about an hour ago, how did the little duckling do from your walking life that was in the pool? So cute. He was a hard catch with
Well,
that.
explain first for the people who
for
didn't
everybody,
see our Facebook Live.
Yeah, when we were on our we have on Facebook about an hour long, 2 miles worth of our walk that we walked without all the viewers. And when we got home, there were ducks, a mama duck and her ducklings in the pool. And so I was trying to catch them, and you didn't see it on screen because Tammy was holding the camera, and it was, the little bit of the duck was there. But I did catch him, and I did take him out and all the way out to the pond because the mama and the other ducklings had all fled to the pond. And so I took that one lost duckling and put it in the water, and it swam straight out to mama. The whole family is now happy and reunited, and we felt much better for it.
Yeah, he couldn't get out of the pool by himself. He'd gotten in our pool and he couldn't get out. But every time Tom would get close to him with the pool net, he would dive under. He was a great little swimmer, and he would dive under. And so we had to wear him out. Tom had to keep chasing him in the water until he got so tired that when Tom got close to him to the net, he just was like, I give up. And then Tom got him in the net. And I do have pictures of it, and I kept meaning to post them on Facebook. So if you guys don't follow us on Facebook, every once in a while we do a Facebook Live, or we'll do an Instagram little video. So be sure that you're following us on other social media.
Short answer, can you eat too much fruit? This is from Linda about an hour ago.
Well,
she's eating 1 apple, 2 to 3 oranges, and 3 bananas.
Well, it all depends. Is it working for you? It just depends. If your triglycerides are good and your blood sugar is good and you're at a healthy weight, that might be good for you. I usually only have 2 to 3 servings of fruit a day. But it depends. I mean, if you're not trying to lose weight and you're able to maintain your weight, then keep it up.
Karen asked this question earlier about the super cubes. How many do we have? We have 2 of the 2 compartment ones, and we have 2 of the 4 cup or 4 compartment ones, and that allows me to divvy up any batch of anything that Tammy makes. So we have a total of 4 that is serving the needs of how we cook right now.
Yeah.
So and there's maybe a little bit left over, which goes into one of the other containers, which we then don't freeze. We eat it the next day.
Yeah, because the idea is that you can pop them out of there and put them in another freezer container so that you always have them available to keep using.
Okay. We already talked about weight loss classes a little bit. Let's see. I'm looking for question marks.
Okay. Well, I was also going to say
here's one.
A few people have written to me this past week. I haven't answered back yet about weight loss, and they want to know what to do on a whole food plant-based diet to lose weight. So one thing I want to say is this is like the best weight loss Bible, I think. This is the food plan that I use to lose weight and what I've been doing to keep it off since 2015. So I highly recommend Chef AJ's The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss. If you haven't already bought it, buy it. It's under $20, and her whole food plan and all about calorie density is all outlined in here. And then look up her calorie density video on her YouTube channel and learn all about calorie density. So if I had learned about calorie density when I was 20, it would have saved me a lifetime of yo-yo dieting. And then also, if you're looking for some online support, if you don't have support in your community, which is really, if you haven't already connected with people in your community, that's a difficult thing right now. And so I highly recommend that you join her online program that is called Feel Fabulous Over 40, and Tom linked to that.
The link is in the show notes.
In the show notes. And so they have a private Facebook page, and then they also have a website, and you get weekly meal plans and recipes, and I think once a month she has an interview she either has a success story or a doctor that she interviews. She interviews Doug Lyle, and there is just a wealth of knowledge and resources
there. A members area
there.
with a lot of resources in the fixed members area.
Yes, and there's a resource where you can look up, if you want to know, can I eat XYZ, or why don't we have sodium, or why no oil?
How much fruit, yeah.
Or how much fruit to eat, then there's a search engine, and every video that she has addressed that issue in comes up, and it goes right to that specific answer to that question, and it is amazing. And I think you get to try it for 2 weeks for free. And so, try it for free for 2 weeks and see what you think. And I think that you'll want to stick with it because it is a fantastic resource.
Okay, I'm gonna take care of
and
it.
I'm not doing private coaching right now. I have been asked that question because I'm just too busy, and we have a lot of other things going on, and so I'm not doing private coaching right now. So I think joining her online.
Head over to Feel Fabulous Over 40. Yeah.
Right, because it will be like getting coaching. And plus on the private Facebook group that you get to join, then you can ask your questions there, and lots of people are there to answer them.
There's a great tribe of people there.
It is.
Okay, Susie D says that she's a new vegan, and her husband gave up all animal products. Her question is, did you guys ever eat or make fake meat products? Tammy went straight into pretty much whole food plant-based. I transitioned on the fake meat stuff for my first year. I don't eat any of that now.
I ate a little, and I had a little bit of it
So
in the beginning.
it was a great transition for me to get off of animal products, the tofurkey stuff and field roast stuff. It was an invaluable part of my journey. But that stuff is, when you learn more, going full whole food plant-based, you learn more and more about oil and the deleterious effects that oil has on your vascular system. And once you get that sorted out, then you're motivated to move on from that. So as you learn and go and grow, you'll come to realize that. But in the meantime, eating the fake meats is better than eating real animal products.
Yeah,
So
so
I applaud that as a transitional tool, keeping in mind that it is transitional. But for me, it was a very important transitional tool.
And it's a good thing too to use, like when you have company over or the family comes over. You know, that can be a nice middle ground to, you know, make some things with those transitional foods, just so you don't, you know, totally freak them out.
Pam Reeder's asking, do you think the Milty Crisp Lid for air fryer gives a better or same result as the Be-Like oven air fryer mode? We can't answer that because I don't know what the Be-Like air fryer mode is. Oh, Breville oven, I bet.
You know what? I think that it does, it's closer, it takes less time. So if I do a sweet potato like this in the Milty air
It's
fryer.
heating up a smaller space.
Yeah, so it's a little bit closer and it's a smaller space.
You gotta watch it then.
And so it takes a little bit less time in it, but I think that it does an equally as good of a job. But of course it's a smaller quantity. But let me show you that, you know, this is a small sweet potato, but you would be able to do 2 of the small sweet potatoes in here. And some nights Tom is using the Breville to make his chips, and maybe I want to make nachos, and so I will put my potatoes in this, and I'll use the Milty Crisp Lid to make up my potatoes. So, and I think, you know, when we do get to travel again, whenever that is, I think, you know, this will be really nice to be able to take that with us on the road, because we try to stay in hotel rooms that have a little kitchenette or an Airbnb, so that we have a kitchen to use.
Okay, Tiffany is asking, she's hearing quite a bit of buzz about the heirloom beans from Rancho Gordo. She knows several who have set up to receive orders throughout the year. Have you both experienced these?
Yes, they're absolutely delicious.
They taste like dessert.
Yeah, that, you know, they're really high quality. You really don't have to pre-soak them, and they're absolutely delicious. But, you know, they're like 2 to 3 times the cost of buying just a bag of beans at, like, let's say Whole Foods, some organic beans there. But yeah, you definitely will taste a difference. There's a huge difference.
Violet Rodriguez is asking,
and I haven't subscribed to one of their delivery services, but we have a local store here called the Nugget Market, and they sell them there. And I've also been given the beans as a gift, and they are fantastic.
Thank you. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
Violet is asking, is it expensive to eat a whole food diet? Not any more so than what we used to spend before, because we're taking out all of the animal product expenses and just replacing it with good organic vegetables. They do cost more than the non-organic, but there's other things that we're not buying.
Sometimes the organic, when you're looking at the prices, like at, let's say, Trader Joe's, sometimes it's only 25 cents.
It's not that big
Sometimes
amount.
it's just a small amount. Sometimes it's a large amount, but sometimes it's small.
And then another thing is you're not buying all the processed boxed food, which you tend to do when you're on the standard American diet. You're buying a lot of processed stuff. That stuff is just not part of the menu. So
if you were buying vegan ice cream and vegan frozen entrees and, you know, vegan specialty foods, then I would say, yeah, it would be expensive if you were buying the vegan sausages and all of that. But really, tofu is inexpensive. Rice, quinoa, millet, you know, all of the grains, inexpensive. Potatoes, inexpensive. Beans, inexpensive. And then if you're willing to, cook your own beans instead of buying
even more inexpensive.
canned beans, then even less expensive. And if you have access to a store that sells in bulk, which is difficult right now, but all of our local stores that have bulk food sections, they have now taken the bulk food and pre-packaged it for you. So put it in the container that you would normally do yourself. They've done it for you. And then that's even cheaper because you're not paying for a label in a can and a company who's advertising. And so, and then if you're trying to really do it on like a shoestring budget, there's some blogs and some Facebook pages on how to eat vegan on a budget. So you could check those out too, but absolutely you can do it very inexpensively because, the bulk of what we eat is very inexpensive. And then if you buy all of your produce in season, then, you can take advantage of the lower prices, but you can also use frozen fruit and frozen vegetables, which some places that's a cheaper option than buying all fresh.
Karen Hicks is asking that she doesn't care for quinoa. Can she replace it with rice or wild rice in the quinoa mango salad?
Sure.
You'd have to rename it then. Oat Groat mango salad. Wild rice mango salad.
Yeah, sure. You could use, millet is really good in those kinds of salads. Millet works really well. So absolutely, you can switch up the grains, you can switch up the fruit. You can make it your own. You have to remember that recipes are just an idea. So, I've taken the things that I like and grouped them together in a way that pleases me. But, feel free to make substitutions and to change it so that it's something that you like. Absolutely.
Pumpkin Seed says that we should watch CBC Marketplace on the plastic subject, so we'll take a look into that. Just make a note of that.
CBC Marketplace.
CBC Marketplace, yeah.
Thank you.
And there was a question here about what we spend on groceries. We share a lot of our food with families, so that's kind of a hard thing to nail down. But when we hit Costco, we'll spend $150, $160 there.
But not always. Sometimes it's only $90.
It depends whether we're buying clothes and things. And then we'll hit Whole Foods, and that'll be $80. And then we'll hit Trader Joe's, and that'll be $60. But
usually, like 1 week will be a more expensive shopping trip because we have to restock on basics. Like maybe we'll need dried beans and quinoa and rice, and we'll have to buy some of the basics. And so then the next week we won't need those basics because we buy things in larger quantities. And so then the next week, maybe we'll only spend $80 because all we have to buy is fresh produce. So but we don't actually keep track of how much we don't have a food budget, I guess I want to say.
Okay. All right. I think I did a quick scan, and so I think, if I missed you, leave it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the list for our next live show. Let's see.
I think I think the vegan on a budget is we heard her speak, and she's a local Sacramento gal that I think her website I think is called Vegan on a Budget, and she has a cookbook, and I think it's called Vegan on a Budget. And there is somebody who did a book, I think it's called Vegan on $4 a day.
Yeah, somebody was mentioning a vegan budget, something up here earlier. So yeah.
So, Google that, vegan on a budget, and see what you find. So I know they don't eat as clean as we eat, but you can always modify recipes. You can always leave the oil out. You can always make substitutions and that kind of thing. So
yeah, Bev's commenting that the Rancho Gordos aren't organic. Does the high quality make this okay? We had a conversation with someone about the bean company that we have here in Sacramento. that they're sourcing them from, small production farmers in whatever location they come from, and they strive for organic whenever they can get them, but they're not always certified organic.
Yeah, so a good thing to do would be to go on their website, read about it, and if you have a question about the growing practices, then I would contact them. Because just like at the farmer's market, not everyone at the farmer's market is certified organic, but when you talk to the growers, you might find out that their practices are just the same as the organic, certified organic grower, but they just don't have the money to get the certification because the government makes it expensive to do. And so it's just a good idea to talk to them and find out what they're doing. It's like we had someone at the farmer's market that was growing hydroponically grown leaf lettuce and something else that we bought. And I was talking, the father was helping to sell it that day. It was the son's business, but the dad was there. And I was saying, oh, but it doesn't say organic. And he, so he was telling me, but the practices are as good as the organic. It's just that he doesn't have the money to get certified at this point. So ask questions, talk to them, and find out. And I don't know personally, I haven't researched it to see. We buy organic beans, but I don't know if beans are on the Dirty Dozen list.
Yeah,
if they would make it to the Dirty Dozen list. I don't know. I don't know how many pesticides are used for growing beans.
Yeah. Tiffany's asking, how do you two enjoy being grandparents? Nothing beats getting to the front door on the days that we go over to help out and opening the door and having 3 little ones screaming and running towards you to give you
with absolute delight.
Yeah,
and
arms waving and feet flying and
yes.
Lito, they're hollering, so it's a celebration. Every day is a party.
It is. They're so delighted to see us, and it just warms our heart. And our daughter and her husband are amazing parents, and it's wonderful. So we thoroughly enjoyed being parents and loved having our kids. And, of course, there were hard times, but it was, one of the greatest joys of my life was being a mother. And so being a grandparent is equally as wonderful.
Okay. Someone, I scrolled and I lost it. Someone just got a Revel like a day or 2 ago, and they tried dehydrating and it didn't turn out so great. We have a Excalibur dehydrator, so we haven't actually used our Breville.
I have used it. I used it to do the granola and the cookies.
Oh, okay.
And it worked great.
I don't want to get too crazy in the scroll here. I'm almost at the bottom. I think
so. There is a blog post, and I'm pretty sure we did a video on how to make dehydrated granola and dehydrated cookies, and also on the Milty, on the new crisp lids, it has a dehydrator. The new ones from, I don't know, maybe the beginning of the year, it has a dehydrator function on it, and so I used it to dehydrate some cookies in too, just to see how it did, and it did great.
Here it is. Yeah, here's Denise.
So and I've also what else did I? It seems like I did something else in there, but anyway,
Denise was trying
good.
to dehydrate green beans, a vegetable.
Oh, well, it would take a long time.
Yeah. To
do the green beans. So I haven't done anything. We use it every day, and like Tom said, we have a 9-tray Excalibur. So if I'm doing a big batch of stuff, then I do it in our Excalibur. So, but try it again. They may have just had too much moisture in them, or maybe you needed to do it longer. But when I used it for the granola and the cookies, it did a really good job.
Okay, I'm Okay, Sheila P. is asking, greetings guys, do you eat from a mixture of information from Dr. McDougall and Dr. Furman? The short answer is kind of yes.
You know, they, that's good. You know, when we first started, the first book I read was Dr. Furman's Eat to Live book. And so when we started out, we were really doing his style. And then when I became hypothyroid and I started to gain some weight after I'd gone plant-based, I became hypothyroid, and because my thyroid was going crazy, I started to gain some weight. And even after I started taking levothyroxine for it, and you know, my hormones leveled out, I still couldn't lose the weight. And then I found AJ, and I got rid of the nuts and seeds and the higher fat foods, the avocado and, you know, all the tofu and all of that. And then I was able to lose the weight. So then we transitioned more towards, I guess more like the weight loss, McDougall weight loss plan, maximum weight loss, McDougall's maximum weight loss, which is a little more similar to AJ's, except that we don't do the flour and the bread and the tortillas. And so, you know, we eat more like this, and paying attention to the calorie density chart and how they teach people to eat at the True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California, which is, you know, what Chef AJ's food plan is pretty much based off of, but very similar to McDougall's maximum weight loss plan. So, and that is also a really good read, and he is giving away a lot of free information on his blog right now, and you can take his starch solution course right now for free. So if you go to the McDougall website, you can sign up to take his starch solution class, which is normally that's been like a starch solution, what do I want to say? Oh, I had the word and then I lost it. Certification class in his program. And so, and he's offering it for free right now because of the pandemic. And, you know, a lot of people have a lot of free time on their hands and want to have something constructive to take it with. And so he's being very generous by giving that away for free right now. So take a look at that if you're interested in learning more about the reasons behind why we eat the way we eat. How'd I do? Was that short enough?
That was short for you, yeah.
You can't talk because you're a talker too. And your explanations sometimes are long too.
That's true.
So you can't
Okay.
beat me up for that.
Well, we are 106 minutes in.
Wow.
And I'm getting hungry.
I am too.
So.
Oh, hi Scott.
Are you just now signing on, Scott?
You're just signing on, and we're just
You're gonna have to
getting
back
ready
up.
to. We're getting ready to get off.
You got to go back to the beginning. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up.
Okay, well, this has been really fun, you guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for submitting so many amazing questions. I was worried at first that we weren't going to have enough to talk about today, but it ended up being fantastic.
Yeah.
We had a lot
Well,
of...
we got into the weeds on some of our subjects, though. So.
But that's okay, because there are weeds. You know, there are weeds.
The world's not perfect.
The world is not perfect, and we don't have it all figured out. And we're learning as we go, just like you are. And we're all in different places in our journey. And that's okay because, you know, we collectively, we're helping everyone within the community.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're learning from you guys and you're learning from us. And, you know, it's a collaboration. And it's fantastic.
Okay.
And, you know, it's wonderful that even though we have the pandemic going on, we can still stay connected and have a sense of community, which, you know, that I think that's the really difficult part right now is like, you know, thinking about when are we ever going to get together with our friends again and our family. So, okay, he's giving me the look. So please like this, please share this video if you would, to help us reach more people.
Check out our new affiliate Supercube site. nice, very nice people. So
That's right. Click on the bell, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Go to the blog and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the blog.
Many of the links that Tammy mentioned are in the show notes, so you have to kind of thread through them. There, I came back to, after stepping away from the computer. She had added a whole bunch of stuff in there, and I went, "What is all of this? It's getting too full." So you're going to have to weed through the weeds on that one and find the link you want.
I know, but you can also, there's a search on the blog that you can use if you're looking for something specific. And just know I don't have all of the recipes categorized in the recipe finder, but what
Search the entire blog.
Yeah, and I don't think the search box on the blog is the best search box. I think the best search box is to go to Google. And in Google, if you're looking for a specific recipe on my blog, put in, quinoa banana oat muffin nutmeg notebook in Google, and Google will take you right to the page.
Kathy, Tim, I missed the question on the champion juicer. So if you can ask that really quickly again, just jot me a few words so we know what your question might be.
Yeah, we love the champion juicer.
Yeah, we don't use it to make juice. We use it to make the nice cream.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about doing a juice fast. So if I do the juice fast, then we'll
Or if you want to repost that in the show notes, in the comments, we can catch it there, and then we'll go ahead and answer you back as a comment. So yes, we do have a video. Thank you, Vegana. There is a video on the champion juicer.
There is. And Belinda says, very informative live stream. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate that. And I'm Tammy.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you
get healthy and stay healthy. One meal at a time. Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you on Facebook, Instagram, and we'll be back here next Sunday at 4 p.m. Bye.